The moment Prater died in Dexter, Resurrection, the world seemed to stop. Fans everywhere couldn't believe it. Some were shocked, some heartbroken, and many were left asking why him. Today, Peter Dinklage opens up about this unforgettable moment, sharing thoughts that go beyond the screen. What did he feel during that scene? How did it change the story? And what does it mean for Dexter's journey moving forward? Stay tuned, because the truth behind Prater's death is more intense than you think. Prater was never just a supporting character. From the very first episode, his presence carried weight. Quiet, observant, and often underestimated, he had a unique way of influencing the events around Dexter. Fans might have initially overlooked him, thinking of him as just another player in the intricate world of Dexter, Resurrection. But as the story progressed, it became clear that Prater had layers. He wasn't just a background character. He was someone whose decisions, even the smallest ones, rippled through the series. His interactions with Dexter were subtle but meaningful. There were moments when his eyes said more than words ever could. Moments when he seemed to understand the darkness that surrounded Dexter better than anyone else. These interactions were not just filler. They built a tension that lingered in every scene. Fans connected with him because he was both relatable and mysterious. A character who didn't need constant screen time to leave a mark. When the episode finally arrived where Prater's fate was sealed, the audience wasn't just watching a character die, they were witnessing the collapse of a silent pillar in the narrative. This death wasn't predictable or easy to digest. It was sudden, and its emotional impact was magnified because the show had spent weeks, even months, allowing viewers to see Prater as integral to Dexter's world. His death was a turning point, a moment that forced Dexter on the audience to confront harsh truths about loyalty, consequence, and survival in a world where moral lines are always blurred. It's also important to understand the timing of his death. Dexter had been navigating complex challenges, balancing personal struggles with the external threats of enemies and law enforcement. Prater's demise wasn't just about removing a character from the plot. It served as a catalyst for Dexter's own evolution. Without Prater, Dexter faced new vulnerabilities, both emotionally and strategically. It was a deliberate choice by the writers, one that emphasized the stakes and reminded fans that no one, no matter how quiet or clever, was truly safe in this world. Prater's death also showcased the brilliance of the show's storytelling. It wasn't melodramatic or overdone, it was calculated. The scene allowed for tension to build in ways that highlighted the fragility of life and the permanence of choices. Every glance, every hesitation, and every word exchanged before his death contributed to a sense of inevitability that left viewers breathless. For fans, it was a moment to pause, reflect, and feel the raw weight of loss alongside the characters they had grown attached to. The emotional fallout extended beyond Dexter. Other characters, even minor ones, reacted in ways that deepened the narrative complexity. Their grief, anger, or shock mirrored the audience's own reactions. Through these interactions, the show demonstrated that Prater's presence was significant not just for plot mechanics, but for emotional resonance. Each reaction added layers to the story, turning a single death into a pivotal moment that reverberated across the series. What made Prater's death particularly memorable was the combination of shock and inevitability. Fans didn't see it coming, yet when it happened, they understood it. It was the kind of storytelling that lingers in your mind long after the credits roll. The kind that sparks conversations and theories online. For many, it became a defining episode, a benchmark against which future twists would be measured. Peter Dinklage's own reflections add another dimension to this moment. As someone who navigates complex roles with nuance and depth, his perspective brings clarity to what fans may have felt emotionally. He discusses not just the acting challenges, but the weight of portraying or commenting on a death that affected both the story and the audience profoundly. Through his words, viewers can gain insight into how actors process such scenes, the responsibility they feel toward fans, and the impact a single death can have on the collective narrative. By revisiting this context, fans can better appreciate the layers of storytelling in Dexter, Resurrection. Prater's death wasn't an isolated plot point, it was a narrative fulcrum. It pushed Dexter to confront consequences, challenged other characters, and left a lasting impression on the audience. Every detail, from the framing of the scene to the subtle emotional cues, was designed to maximize impact. The writers, directors, and actors collaborated to make sure that this moment didn't just show Kit resonated, leaving an imprint on the series that would be remembered for years, even beyond the episode itself. Prater's death influenced fan theories and discussions. Social media erupted with speculation about motives, future consequences, and hidden meanings in prior episodes. Fans dissected every scene leading up to his death, looking for foreshadowing they might have missed. In a way, Prater became more significant in death than he ever was in life, on the screen a testament to the power of storytelling and the meticulous crafting of suspense in Dexter. Resurrection, finally. The ripple effect of his death reminds viewers that in this universe, every action matters. Dexter's world is one where moral ambiguity reigns, and the consequences of each choice are unpredictable. Prater's end was a stark reminder that even the smallest decisions can have monumental repercussions. A lesson that Dexter and the audience would never forget. When Peter Dinklage talks about Prater's death, it's clear that this scene meant more than just another plot twist to him. As an actor who has portrayed complex characters with subtle emotions, Dinklage has a unique way of connecting with the story. He doesn't just see the death as a scripted event. He sees it as a moment loaded with emotional resonance, character growth, and narrative weight. In interviews, he described the scene as heartbreaking, but necessary, emphasizing that Prater's death was a turning point that shaped not only Dexter's journey, but also the world around him. Dinklage's connection to the story goes beyond performing lines or reading scripts. He explained how he felt the tension in the room during the filming of this episode. Even though he wasn't the character dying, he could feel the gravity of the moment, the shock it would deliver to the audience, and the emotional weight it would carry for the other characters. Actors often talk about energy on set, but Dinklage's words suggest that for him, Prater's death was almost tangible, a shared heartbeat between the characters, the cast, and the viewers watching at home. He also delved into the challenge of watching the scene unfold on screen for the first time. As someone deeply invested in storytelling, seeing Prater's death hit the audience so hard was both validating and humbling. Dinklage pointed out that a great death scene doesn't just surprise, it resonates. It lingers in your mind, changes how you view other characters, and shifts the emotional landscape of the story. He noted that the writers and directors crafted the moment with precision, ensuring that the audience would not only feel shock, but also grief, disbelief, and even anger. What makes Dinklage's perspective especially compelling is the way he balances admiration for the craft with empathy for the fans. He acknowledges that viewers had formed connections with Prater over time, and his death was deeply personal to them. Dinklage mentioned that fans reached out, expressing their sorrow, confusion, and frustration. For him, this was proof that the storytelling worked, the emotions were real, and the impact was undeniable. It's rare for an actor to speak so openly about the ripple effects of a fictional death, but Dinklage does it with sincerity and clarity. He also reflected on the subtle layers of Prater's character, highlighting aspects that casual viewers might have missed. According to Dinklage, Prater represented more than just a plot device. He embodied moral ambiguity, quiet intelligence, and resilience. His interactions with Dexter, often understated, were loaded with tension and meaning. Dinklage explained that these nuanced moments made the eventual death even more powerful, because the audience had invested in Prater emotionally, even if he never dominated the screen. The quiet buildup, as Dinklage described it, made the final scene hit with full force. In discussing the filming itself, Dinklage shared insights into how actors prepare for emotionally charged sequences, even when they are not the ones directly involved. He talked about staying present and grounded, reacting truthfully to the events around him, handling the tension needed to make the scene feel authentic. For a death scene like Prater's, every glance, pause, and reaction mattered. Dinklage emphasized that the intensity of the scene came not just from the person dying, but from the collective energy of the cast and crew. Everyone contributing to a believable emotional moment. Dinklage's perspective also brings a behind-the-scenes appreciation for the storytelling decisions. He pointed out how the director chose camera angles, lighting, and pacing to enhance the emotional punch. Shadows, close-ups, and silence were tools that amplified the impact of Prater's death. Dinklage admires this level of detail, noting that it's rare for a single scene to blend technical precision with raw emotional weight so effectively. What stands out most from Dinklage's commentary is his respect for both the character and the audience. He doesn't talk about Prater's death as a shocking plot device alone. He frames it as a shared experience between the show and the fans. According to him, the goal was to create a moment that viewers would not just watch but feel, a moment that would stay with them long after the credits rolled. Fans could relate to loss, betrayal, and the harsh realities of life, all reflected in this one scene. Dinklage also touches on the emotional responsibility actors feel when a scene has such a profound impact. He mentioned that portraying or reacting to a character's death requires honesty and vulnerability. Even in faceless videos or interviews, conveying truth in your performance or in your reflection on it is key. Dinklage's ability to articulate this highlights why he is considered one of the most insightful actors in the industry. He sees storytelling not just as entertainment, but as a tool to evoke real emotions and provoke thought. Finally, Dinklage offers a glimpse into the broader implications of Prater's death on the narrative. He observes that the death reshapes the relationships between characters, sets up new tensions, and challenges Dexter's moral compass. For Dinklage, reflecting on this scene is about more than emotion. It's about understanding storytelling mechanics, character arcs, and the subtle ways a single death can shift the trajectory of an entire series. In sum, Peter Dinklage's perspective turns Prater's death from a shocking plot point into a study in emotional storytelling. He bridges the gap between actor, character, and audience, showing how one moment on screen can resonate across multiple layers of narrative, emotion, and craft. Fans get not just an explanation of what happened, but a window into why it mattered, both on the screen and behind the scenes. Prater's death wasn't just a scripted moment. It was the result of meticulous planning, creative decisions, and collaboration behind the camera. From the first read-through of the script, the team knew that this scene needed to hit with maximum impact. Every element, from lighting to camera angles, was chosen to evoke emotion, tension, and shock. This wasn't a simple character dies moment. It was a carefully orchestrated sequence designed to leave viewers breathless. The director spent weeks planning how to present the death in a way that felt real and unavoidable. They experimented with pacing, using long, tense pauses to build suspense. Every glance, gesture, and expression from the actors was timed to perfection, ensuring that the audience felt every ounce of emotion. According to crew interviews, the team even adjusted the set multiple times to capture the rawest reactions possible. The scene's intensity didn't just come from the acting, it came from the environment, the framing, and the carefully curated atmosphere. Actors on set faced unique challenges. Even though Peter Dinklage wasn't the character dying, he had to react authentically to Prater's fate. Every subtle movement, raised eyebrow, or pause in dialogue contributed to the realism of the scene. Dinklage described staying fully present during filming, absorbing the emotions of the moment, and reflecting them naturally in his performance. This level of engagement ensured that viewers would not only see the event unfold, but feel it as if they were part of the scene themselves. Prater's death also involved technical elements that added complexity. Special effects, stunts, and camera tricks were all used to make the moment believable without feeling artificial. The crew had to carefully choreograph movements to ensure safety while preserving authenticity. Every cut, camera angle, and shadow was calculated to maximize suspense and emotional resonance. Even small details like the positioning of props or the timing of a door opening were considered critical to the scene's impact. One of the most fascinating aspects was how silence was used. In a world full of dialogue, the absence of sound can be just as powerful. During the filming of Prater's death, pauses, muted reactions, and soft ambient noises were deliberately incorporated to heighten tension. The audience is drawn into the scene, feeling the weight of the moment through subtle cues rather than over-the-top dramatics. This careful manipulation of sound and silence made the death not just shocking, but deeply affecting. The production team also focused on continuity and emotional consistency. Every interaction leading up to Prater's death had to make sense. Every reaction needed to reflect genuine character growth or shock. Makeup and wardrobe departments worked to maintain visual realism, making sure that the scene felt grounded in the world of Dexter resurrection. Even minor elements like a tear, a smudge of dirt, or a trembling hand were carefully controlled to amplify the authenticity. Another behind-the-scenes factor that added depth was rehearsal. The actors practiced the scene multiple times, exploring different emotional beats and reactions. These rehearsals allowed the team to discover nuances that might have been missed in a single take. Peter Dinklage emphasized that these moments of preparation were essential not just for the actors, but for the story itself. They created a shared understanding of the emotional gravity, ensuring that everyone on set could contribute to the realism and impact of the final shot. The cinematography also played a major role. Strategic camera angles captured reactions in close-up, emphasizing the subtle fear, grief, and shock in the actors' faces. Wide shots were used to show isolation, vulnerability, or the consequences of Prater's death on the environment. Lighting was adjusted to create contrasts, shadows, and highlights that underscored the drama. Every visual choice reinforced the storytelling, turning a single moment into a layered, emotionally rich experience. Director commentary reveals another interesting choice: the scene's pacing. They deliberately slowed down critical moments, allowing the audience to linger on reactions, connecting emotionally with both Dexter and Prater. The creative team understood that a sudden cut or rushed scene would lessen the impact. Instead, they crafted a rhythm that drew viewers in, made them feel the weight of loss, and ensured the moment would stay etched in memory. Finally, crew interviews highlight the emotional toll behind the scenes. Filming such an intense death sequence wasn't easy for anyone involved. Cast and crew often left the set emotionally drained, having fully immersed themselves in the tension, grief, and shock of the moment. Peter Dinklage described the energy on set as charged, a collective emotional experience that heightened the authenticity of what ultimately appears on screen. In essence, Prater's death was not just a narrative decision, it was a masterclass in filmmaking. Every department, from acting to technical production, worked in harmony to create a scene that was authentic, shocking, and emotionally resonant. Viewers may only see a few minutes on screen, but behind those moments lies hours of preparation, collaboration, and thoughtful execution. This combination of craft, dedication, and artistic intention is what makes Prater's death a scene that fans continue to remember, analyze, and discuss years after it aired. The moment Prater died, the reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Social media lit up with fans expressing shock, anger, sadness, and disbelief. Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, every platform became a space for people to process what they had just witnessed. Fans shared GIFs, clips, and emotional posts, dissecting every second of the scene. The reactions weren't just about a character dying, they were about losing someone they had grown attached to. Someone who felt real in a world of fiction. Memes and fan art quickly followed. Creators took Prater's final moments and turned them into tributes, jokes, or thoughtful reflections. Some fans used humor to cope with the shock, creating posts that captured the absurdity of life continuing after such a tragic fictional event. Others took a more serious approach, drawing images, videos, or editing scenes to highlight his emotional significance. This shows just how invested the audience was in Prater, proving that even supporting characters can leave an enormous impact when written and portrayed. Well, the comment sections were filled with debates. Some fans praised the writers for creating such a powerful, memorable scene. Others expressed frustration, feeling that Prater deserved more screen time, more development, or even a different fate. These discussions reveal how emotionally engaged the audience was, and how invested they had become in the character. The variety of reactions from grief to admiration to critique demonstrates the complex relationship fans had with both the show and its storytelling. Choices.fan forums also became a hub for theory crafting. Immediately after the episode aired, viewers began speculating about the aftermath. How would Dexter respond? What impact would this have on other characters? Could there be a deeper meaning behind Prater's death? These conversations show that fans don't just passively consume the story, they actively engage, analyze, and emotionally invest in the consequences of every narrative twist. Interestingly, many fans related Prater's death to real-life emotions. Viewers shared personal stories of loss and grief, using the scene as a lens to process their feelings. Some wrote about how seeing a beloved character die reminded them of their own experiences, while others expressed empathy for Dexter and the other characters coping with the loss. This emotional resonance demonstrates the power of storytelling to connect fiction with real-life human experiences, allowing viewers to feel deeply, reflect, and discuss their own emotions. Reactions weren't limited to online platforms. Fan communities, watch parties, and discussion groups all saw waves of conversation around Prater's death. People compared reactions, shared theories, and celebrated the complexity of the scene. Even those who weren't avid followers of the show felt compelled to comment. Showing the widespread impact of the narrative choice, the collective shock and discussion reinforced how pivotal this death was, not only for the story but for the cultural conversation around Dexter. Resurrection Ben Relich himself noticed fan reactions, often reading or hearing about them after interviews. He remarked on how powerful it was to see fans emotionally connected, debating, theorizing, and expressing sorrow. For him, these reactions were proof that the scene had achieved its goal, to resonate deeply with the audience. It's rare for a death to generate such a mix of grief, analysis, and creative expression. And fans' responses confirmed that Prater's death was more than just a plot. It was a moment of shared emotional experience. Social media metrics reflected the intensity of reactions as well. Trending hashtags, viral clips, and widespread sharing all indicated that the scene had struck a nerve. Fans were not only discussing the death but reliving the moment, watching it repeatedly to analyze every detail. This level of engagement is the mark of a truly impactful scene, one that becomes a topic of conversation far beyond the immediate airing of the episode. Some fans even speculated on the what-ifs, imagining alternate scenarios where Prater survived. These discussions highlight how invested viewers were. They weren't just watching passively. They were thinking critically, emotionally, and creatively about the story. Theories ranged from potential plot twists to deeper symbolic meanings, showing that Prater's death had layered significance in the eyes of the audience. Ultimately, fan reactions underscore a crucial point. Storytelling is only as powerful as the audience's emotional investment. Prater's death was carefully designed to elicit shock, sadness, and reflection, and the fans delivered, engaging with the narrative in ways that amplified its impact. Their discussions, debates, and creative expressions transformed a single death scene into a cultural moment, one that continues to spark conversation long after the episode aired. The combination of grief, admiration, and analysis in fan reactions mirrors the storytelling goals of Dexter. Resurrection. The writers, actors, and production team created a scene that demanded attention, provoked emotion, and inspired dialogue. Fans responded not just as viewers, but as participants in the narrative, engaging with the story, the characters, and each other. This demonstrates the lasting power of Prater's death, not only as a plot event, but as a shared experience that connects the audience to the world of the show. Finally, the emotional resonance of fan reactions sets the stage for deeper insights into the narrative and the actors' perspectives. As viewers process the shock, their engagement strengthens the connection to Dexter, to the storyline, and to the themes of consequence, morality, and survival. Prater's death became more than just a moment. It became a shared experience that shaped the conversation around the show. Its characters, and the impact of storytelling itself. Prater's death was more than a shocking moment. It was a turning point that reshaped the entire story of Dexter Resurrection. From the moment it happened, the ripple effects on Dexter and the other characters were immediate and profound. The writers used this scene not just for shock value, but as a narrative device to elevate tension, deepen character arcs, and set the stage for the remaining episodes. For Dexter, Prater's death was a confrontation with vulnerability. Until that point, he had navigated danger with precision and control, often managing life-and-death situations with calculated calm. But losing someone he knew, someone whose presence subtly influenced his decisions, exposed cracks in Dexter's emotional armor. It forced him to reconsider trust, loyalty, and the consequences of past choices. The audience sees a shift in his demeanor, a more cautious, more reflective Dexter, who must now navigate a world where even the familiar can disappear without warning. The death also changed dynamics among supporting characters. Friends, allies, and even adversaries reacted in ways that revealed their own vulnerabilities and priorities. Some characters faced guilt, questioning whether they could have prevented the tragedy. Others became more determined, fueled by anger or grief. This single event became a lens through which the series explored human emotions and moral complexity, showing that a well-written death does more than eliminate a character, it catalyzes growth, conflict, and revelation. Narratively, Prater's death also heightened tension for the audience. It served as a reminder that in Dexter, Resurrection, no one is safe. The unpredictability keeps viewers on edge, amplifying suspense in every scene that follows. The writers demonstrated that the world of Dexter is unforgiving, and that the consequences of actions both big and small can arrive suddenly, without warning. This unpredictability is key to maintaining the dramatic momentum of the series, and Prater's death exemplifies that principle perfectly. Moreover, the timing of the death was critical. Placing it at a pivotal moment in the season allowed the writers to explore the emotional fallout in real time. Subsequent episodes focus on the immediate consequences to Dexter's strategic decisions. Character alliances and moral dilemmas all shift as a result of Prater's absence. This wasn't just a plot point. It was a narrative fulcrum that allowed the story to pivot in multiple directions. Simultaneously, Prater's death also reinforced the central themes of Dexter: resurrection, consequence, morality, and survival. It reminded viewers that choices have weight, that even seemingly minor actions can lead to irreversible outcomes, and that the balance between life and death is delicate. The narrative impact isn't just in the characters' responses, and how the story itself is recalibrated, forcing viewers to engage more deeply with the ethical questions the series raises. The scene also intensified relationships between characters. Dexter's interactions with allies and adversaries alike took on new dimensions. His trust and loyalty were now tested under the shadow of loss. Characters who previously operated with a sense of predictability now face heightened tension and uncertainty. For the audience, this creates a more immersive experience, as every dialogue, decision, and glance carries added weight. The ripple effect of Prater's death extends far beyond the immediate episode, shaping the trajectory of multiple storylines simultaneously. Interestingly, the narrative impact also includes thematic resonance. Prater's death symbolizes the fragility of life, the unpredictability of fate, and the moral ambiguity that defines Dexter's universe. The writers crafted the moment to be emotionally and thematically rich, blending shock with reflection. Viewers are forced to not only react emotionally, but to consider the implications on a deeper level, analyzing character motivations, ethical dilemmas, and potential future consequences. In terms of plot mechanics, Prater's absence creates new gaps and opportunities. Dexter must adapt without his subtle influence. Other characters must respond to a sudden void, and the storyline must evolve to maintain tension and engagement. This careful orchestration demonstrates the writer's ability to use a single death as a multifunctional narrative, tool one that advances the plot, enriches character development, and maintains suspense simultaneously. The narrative impact is further amplified by audience investment. Fans who felt connected to Prater now experience his absence as a tangible emotional loss, making subsequent episodes more compelling. The writers effectively used this emotional investment to heighten stakes, ensuring that every new development carries weight and significance. This strategy keeps viewers engaged, invested, and emotionally connected to the unfolding story. Finally, Prater's death becomes a mirror for Dexter himself. It reflects the consequences of his own choices, the limitations of control, and the inevitability of loss. The narrative doesn't allow him or the audience to remain complacent. Every action moving forward is colored by this moment, creating tension, depth, and a sense of urgency that drives the series toward its climax. In conclusion, Prater's death was more than a shocking twist. It was a narrative turning point that shaped characters, themes, and storylines. It forced Dexter to confront vulnerability, tested relationships, and amplified suspense, while also providing the audience with a rich emotional experience. By using this death as a fulcrum, the writers created a ripple effect that resonates throughout the season, demonstrating the power of well-crafted storytelling in Dexter. Resurrection.